UFC returns this weekend. UFC Louisville fight night. I don't know what you were
I was just
doing.
moving my mouth for no reason.
It's a fight night, but in front of a live crowd, a crowd that doesn't get a lot of fights, so it's going to be probably an electric environment. So I always like that. 6-fight main card. We're going to cover all the main card fights, and we're going to start with the Caramel Thunder.
Wow.
Miguel Baeza?
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 I don't know. Baeza?
Punahele Soriano. Puna for short.
There you go.
Both guys coming in a little bit on the losing streak. Caramel Thunder, 3-3 in the UFC, but with 3 straight losses.
Keep thinking of Tropic Thunder when you say Caramel Thunder.
I do too. Soriano, 3-4 in the UFC, 2 straight losses, lost 4 out of his last 5. So both guys came into the UFC, started hot, started well. Lately, have not been hot, have not been well.
Right.
How do you see this fight going, Alex?
This fight, I see going one way with a winner and a loser.
Well, I'm going to laugh in your face when there's a draw.
Yeah, that would be a bad call out. The one time you say there's going to be a winner, it's a draw. No, Baeza is 1-0 against southpaw opponents, which Mr. Soriano is.
Baeza, all 3 of his wins, too, are by finish, too, which is just something to look at.
Just take a peek. Now, that 1-0 is while fighting shorter reach, which Puna also has. So those two kind of things couple against Puna altogether. Neither fighter's won by decision in the UFC. Like you said, they started okay, been bad lately.
Soriano has been a lot more active. He last fought in December of 23. Baeza, this is his first fight since April of 2022, so over 2 years. So it's been a long time.
Yep.
And that was because he got knocked out first round, and then the fight before that, he got knocked out as well.
Well, that's not because of.
Well, I'm sure that plays a pretty big factor into it.
He's 3 inches bigger. He's 6'2". Puna's 5'11". He's got a little bit of a reach advantage. I think if he doesn't have ring rust, he's going to come out here, and I think he's going to be able to beat Punahele Soriano. So I pick Miguel Baeza by decision.
Both guys, as we've said multiple times, have been on the losing end lately. Yep. I'm going with Soriano simply because of the fact he has been more active. He's fought more recently. He's been fighting more recently. Baeza, over 2 years off. After losing 3 in a row, it's going to be hard to come back. Maybe he reignited himself. Maybe not. I'm banking on Soriano, though. I'm picking Soriano to win the fight.
That's cool. Let's go to the middleweight division next for the next fight. We have Julian Marquez taking on Zachary Reese. He's kind of been like a bolt of lightning coming in his career. Zachary Reese. He's 6-1.
But 0-1 in the UFC. He got knocked out in his first UFC fight.
He did.
In December.
That's okay. You know
and he's
why?
taking on Marquez, 3-3 in the UFC, but 2 straight losses.
I say it's okay because he fought and lost to Cody Brundage. That, to me, isn't an anomaly by any stance, but we know who Cody Brundage is as a fighter.
We do, but we know he's not the top of the level. We know he's a pretty good...
But I think with a knockout, I think it's possible to just get caught. You know
it is. I mean, it's always possible to just get caught at this level.
He was 6-0 coming in. That's the first blemish on his career. But in the Contender Series, Zachary Reese in one fight had like 11 sub attempts and then choked the dude out.
Marquez has never been subbed before.
I think that kind of look is going to make everything change for Julian Marquez. I think that kind of all goes forward to say that Zachary Reese is going to win.
One interesting thing.
Submission necessarily, just he's going to win the fight.
Marquez, he's lost 2 in a row, as I said. You know when his last win was? April of 2021. It's been over 3 years for him. He has a lot of other things going on besides fighting. Like he has a successful podcast. He's big on social media. Maybe his head's not in it. I don't want to say that. I'm not going to suggest that. But
Zachary Reese also has a 5-inch reach advantage.
5-inch reach advantage.
I think is always significant because you can physically hit them from further away.
I think we know who Marquez is. We're not sure who Zachary Reese is. As you said, he got caught by Brundage. I'm agreeing with you. I think Reese rebounds. I think he gets his first UFC win. Yeah, I'm picking Reese. I think it's by finish. Neither guy is much of a decision fighter.
All right, there we go.
I think Reese gets the finish.
Let's jump over to 185 pounds.
The
That's
Hulk.
The middleweight division. Bruno, the Hulk Ferreira, taking on Dustin Stoltzfus.
Ferreira, he lost 2 fights ago. First career loss.
Right.
What did he do? He bounced back in January by getting a first-round knockout. That's
Both
always
of his UFC wins are with first-round knockouts.
That's always a big question, though, when a guy gets their first loss. How are they going to rebound? He rebounded by staying the exact same guy and doing exactly what he does. He didn't change, and he's confident in himself, and I think that's a big plus.
So keep on that tune for a moment. Ferreira has knocked out Phil Hawes, which some people may not know who that is, but most people know the other guy he knocked out, RoboCop.
His first
Gregory Rodriguez.
Oh, God. His first UFC fight. Yeah,
Help.
he beat Gregory Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Bruno Ferreira, 6 fights in a row have ended first round. One of those he did lose. And
that was Nursultan Ruzabov. So that's also respectable.
8 out of his last 9 fights have ended in the first round. The only one that didn't end in the first round, he knocked the guy out in the second round.
Right.
So Ferreira's a guy, there's going to be a lot of action. And his fights in Stoltzfus, who's 15-5 overall, but 2-4 in the UFC. Alternated wins, losses in his last 4. But he did win his last fight in December against the guy we just mentioned earlier, Soriano, the second-round sub. Can Stoltzfus build off of that, build some momentum, or is he going to keep doing this alternating thing? I think he keeps doing the alternating thing. I think Ferreira comes out. I think Ferreira knocks him out. I think it's going to be a first-round knockout.
That's interesting. Stoltzfus started the UFC 0-3. Since then, he's gone 2-1.
Opposite of the guys we
look at it differently, at least.
Opposite of the guys we talked about before, where they started hot in the UFC and then have lately not done well. He seems to be kind of turning around, but he's still alternating wins, losses.
Yep.
And I think Ferreira is just a beast, and I think he's a guy that he's a guy to be reckoned with.
Yep. So Dustin Stoltzfus is 1-1 against shorter reach, so he has the reach advantage here, but he has yet to beat an orthodox opponent in the UFC, which I think is impressive. That makes me as well agree with you and lean on the Bruno Ferreira first round TKO. I'm gonna lock that in as well. I like that. I agree. Just simply. Let's go to some young versus old. This is one that
I wouldn't say old.
Well,
young versus a guy like in his fighting prime.
In the terms of like the age discrepancy in the UFC, the younger guy winning like 60-something% of the time. This is but right up in there. Not old.
I agree with you, but this is way different because 31 is like a normal UFC. 19 is way young.
Right.
But Raul Rosas Jr., he has proven to be a legit fighter. There's a lot of hype around him.
As there should be.
As there should be. But he has proven, and he's 2-1 in the UFC, 2 finishes. His only loss was by decision. It was a close fight. His last fight coming off of a first-round TKO. Say what you want about the guy. He's 19 years old. He's an exciting fighter. He's here to stay. He's legit. And he's taking on Ricky Turcios.
Turcios, yeah.
Pretty Ricky. 12-3 overall. Also 2-1 in the UFC. But one interesting thing is every one of his fights has gone to the scorecard. In his last fight, November of 2022, so it's been a little while since we've seen him. Long layoff.
This is going to be fun. I think this is one of those similar style matchups where both guys can kind of do anything as far as ability is concerned. Similar reach, similar size. Obviously, Turcios has the advantage in reach there. He's a little bit older. He's, like you said, fighting in his prime.
I think the biggest difference is one guy gets finishes, and that's the young 19-year-old Rosas Jr. One guy, pretty much in his career, this isn't a dig or anything, but he goes to the scorecard and he relies on the scorecard.
Yeah, and look, if that's how you fight, more props to you.
I mean, look at Sean Strickland. We talked about him earlier.
That means you're not getting finished. At the end of the day, that means you're strong enough to fight the defense. You're not getting knocked out. You're not getting taken down to the ground and subbed out. They can't get you there. Like, his takedown accuracy may be 25%, but his defense is way higher.
So I think this is going to be a very tough test for Rosas Jr. I think it's going to be an entertaining fight.
I think the odds are not very indicative of how close the fight's actually going to be. Minus 235 and plus 190 with Rosas being the favorite. I think it's probably more like a minus 150 plus 115.
I agree with you, but I'm still thinking Rosas gets the win. I think this is going to be his first decision win, too.
Now, while we say these guys are very similar, both guys are 1-1 in reach. So Rosas 1-1 in longer reach. Turcios is 1-1 in shorter reach. These guys match up very well. I think Dana and Sean Shelby are just trying to really figure out which one of the two is going on the next kind of run in the bantamweight division, because this is another division that is pretty crowded. It's got
I think
a
they're
lot
trying
of
to see how good Rosa
competition.
Jr. is, too.
And we know with an age at 19, Rosa Jr. is going to be in for a long time. And Turcios fighting in his prime, he can still stay in the UFC for as long as he desires. I pick Raul Rosa winning by submission.
Okay, so we both pick him just different ways.
Yep. Yes,
Let's
sir.
move on. Co-main event now. We got the Devastator, Dominick
What?
Reyes.
The Devastator.
12 wins, 4 losses, 6-4 in the UFC, but that's 4 straight losses, 3 brutal knockout losses, and he's taking on Dustin Jacoby. 19 wins, 8 losses, 1 draw, 7 wins, 5 losses, 1 draw in the UFC. 4 of those are KO wins. He has lost 3 out of his last 4, including his last fight in December, a unanimous decision to Minifield. But this is another one. It's a guy that's lost 3 out of 4 versus a guy that's just, since he had the controversial decision loss to John Jones,
Right.
it's been 3 years, 4 years now. He has just not been the same guy, and his chin is totally gone.
Fading, heavy.
I mean, brutal knockout.
Like some guys' hairlines.
In his last fight against Ryan Spahn, he got Dominick Reyes, that is, just a jab. Knocked him out cold. It was just surprising to see.
Yeah, he just faded so quick.
And he's taken a long time off. He last fought in November 2022.
You know,
Is
what
that going to
else
help
crazy?
him? Is it not going to help him? It's going to be interesting to see.
It'll help his mental health for sure, but it's crazy that Dominick Reyes went on the run he went on, and then he's only 12-4. Like he
was
seemingly
12-0.
I know, but like I'm saying, he seemingly didn't have much of like a chance at a fighting career because like he started too late. Went on.
He
like
didn't
a
start. He
crazy-
was 6-0, taking on John Jones, and should have won.
No, I'm saying like he's 34 now. He's not even that old, but he started fighting too late in his life.
I don't think he did
To
because
have
he fought
a
for the
bunch of
title at
fights.
30 years old.
Yeah, but I'm saying to have a long leg of fights beforehand. We didn't get to see a lot of 30 fights like we saw Dustin Jacoby.
Yeah, but I think that's a good thing.
But he's still not fucking. He has no chin.
Yeah, but I
16
don't
fights
think
in.
those correlate. I think that's just
If he would have fought sooner, maybe.
he was a college football player, so
Does
he had
that
other
help?
things going on.
I think Dustin Jacoby's going to win this fight by knockout.
Yeah, I think so too. I just at this point, the last few fights we've seen from Dominick Reyes.
But Reyes is 3-0 against shorter reach. Does that help you at all? It's only 1 inch.
Yeah, but all that is before 4 or 5 years ago. Like,
It
what's
is.
going to happen?
It's definitely when he was 12-0.
I'm not confident in this, just because I'm not confident in a guy that's lost 3 out of 4 in Jacoby. But the way Reyes,
Before you say that, Dustin Jacoby's only winning as the favorite 53% of the time. So it's not
so it's
like
toss-up.
pretty. When you look at all the things coming in for both guys, there's a lot of things that are making you feel.
interesting that this is the co-main event. But I'm
Right.
going to go with the guy that hasn't been knocked out 3 times in a row.
That's also fair.
I'm going to go with Dustin Jacoby in this fight by
I agree.
knockout as well.
Cool. Let's rock it. Going on to the main event, you got the 40-year-old.
Killer Gorilla.
Killer
40-year-old who's just hitting his prime, it seems like.
Yeah, it's crazy what shape he's in.
Once he moved down,
If he was in Major
one
League
of the few
Baseball-
guys that has moved down. Like, he started at the heavyweight and
Yeah.
just slowly moved down. And he's finally fighting 185, and since then he's been killer.
If
Gorilla.
he played Major League Baseball, he'd definitely be on steroids with the kind of shape he's in.
And
the
he's
only
take-
reason I trust it is because he's in the UFC.
And he's taking on the Russian Frenchman, if that makes sense.
The sniper.
From France, or fights out of France, but he's the Russian sniper, Nassourdine.
Nassourdine Imavov. He's only
Imavov.
29 years old.
Only 29, taking on a 40-year-old, as you said. Jared Cannonier, 17-6, 10-6 in the UFC, but he has won 5 out of 6, 7 out of 9. Since he's moved down, he's been a totally different fighter, as we said. 2 straight wins. His last loss, I believe, was it Izzy? Izzy, which is
4-1 in his last 5. But the one stat that this isn't even a stat, it's just cool to have been able to do. Jared Cannonier's last 5 fights, 4 of them was him being a part of the main event. So this is his 5th out of 6.
Yeah, so he's
which
a
is
guy.
very impressive. That's something not everybody can do, especially at reach nearing 40 years old.
I think he's the guy. He needs a little more respect than he gets because he's a legit fighter, top-level fighter. But he's taking on a guy who's also legit. 5 wins, 2 losses, 1 no contest in the UFC.
Yep.
He's won 4 out of 6. One of those being a no contest. So only 1 loss in his last 6 fights. His last fight was a majority decision win against Dolidze.
Roman Dolidze.
I never can remember how to say his name. Dolidze.
That guy, so I thought he was going to be a serious problem against Nassourdine Imavov.
And Imavov just
pieced him up, which kind of is pushing me into the direction I'm going for this main event here.
Well, I think the winner, before we get to our picks, I think the winner of this has a legit title shot call out. And, this is actually, we didn't even talk about this, but winner, not a title shot, Sean Strickland. It would line up perfect. Winner could fight Sean Strickland if they get out of here clean.
I mean, you got Jared Cannonier 4th, Nassourdine Imavov at 7th. Yeah, I mean, Whitaker, Chimaev, all of them are right there. There's one fight away from a title shot for any one of the winners.
Exactly.
Of, the next couple fights.
And speaking of winners, I'm going to go with the 40-year-old, actually. I'm going with Jared Cannonier. I think he is near the top of this division. I think at 185, he's a elite fighter. And I think Imavov is going to be a tough test, but I think Cannonier outlasts him. I think Cannonier gets a unanimous decision win.
I think that's I think with the odds, it's kind of not smart necessarily that we're disagreeing, but I think it kind of just that's how it happens sometimes. I think it's very plausible that Cannonier wins by decision, but I think the younger guy, the bigger guy, 6'3" over the 5'11", he's younger. Those win on a significant scope. 63 or 64% of the time. Striking's close. I think Imavov is more well-rounded. I think he has more gas in the tank because he's younger. I think Imavov's going to win probably by decision as well. I think we see the whole fight play out. I think we're excited the whole way through because I really think it's going to stay.
Both guys are pretty entertaining, yeah.
Absolutely.
So, UFC Louisville. Check it out this weekend.
It's going to be a great fight card.